Yes, guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a match reaction as Newcastle draw 0-0 against Bournemouth this Sunday afternoon. Thoughts and comments on the game down below. Ultimately, a good point. A good point. I would have taken, Bournemouth have been playing well. It's not a place we've had much luck since Eddie Howe has joined. He mixed it up. He tried something different. We were tough to break down. I think defensively we worked really well, and we take a point home. Having said that, I think going forward we were lacking. I think we had one shot on target throughout the whole game, and even that was a questionable one. Some real frustration with our attacking options. No Wissa. Big Nick, I think, is still getting to grips with the Premier League. He didn't start against Barcelona. We saved him for this one, but then I don't think we necessarily helped him with the squad selection of, Miley, no Bruno, no Joe Linton, and we will get into that in this video. So yeah, let me know your thoughts and comments on the game down below. 0-0. I can't imagine this video is going to blow up, to be honest. I think it was, for a neutral, a fairly flat game to watch. There was very few opportunities for either side. I've just been reading Eddie Howe's post-match comments there, where he has actually said that it's not been the way we have played in the past, but since he's joined Newcastle, we've never won at Bournemouth. We changed it up, and we were more direct. A point is good. And we changed 6 or 7 players today, which shows we've got depth in the squad. Yeah, I understand what he's saying there. I think ultimately Bournemouth was going to be a tough game. And had you offered me, a point on the road, I probably would have taken it. But there is always going to be frustration, regardless of where you go, if you don't really try and create and try and go for it. I think that's the thing. Fair enough. Defensively we were strong. I thought Botman was brilliant. Great to see him back in the side. Malik Chow was good. Was getting a little bit risky with with the yellow cards there. But I thought he was good. It was good to see Hall come back in. I don't know if he had the greatest game for me, but obviously he's coming back in. Tino, I think, Pope, is always worrying on the ball, but put in a decent account for himself today. And then you look at the midfield. And fair enough, Eddie Howe is trying to rotate things. He's trying to have a squad, not just the same 11 players every single time when we've got a game in the midweek, game at the weekend, a game in the midweek, a game at the weekend. It makes sense. But bearing in mind the game in the midweek coming up is Bradford at home in the Cup. What, he wants a fresh Bruno for that one? I genuinely scratching my head there over that decision. I would have assumed that the mix and match team probably would have come on Wednesday night, unless we go and beat them on Wednesday, and you can look at it and go, well, it was a good point against Bournemouth, and now we're through to the next round of the Carabao Cup. Because fair enough, Bradford are a lower league side, but it's never always as simple as it seems. People were calling out for Voltemada to have started in the Barcelona game. He didn't. And then he's rolled him on this one. And then I think, is still getting to grips with it. His hold-up play wasn't great. But once again, he was playing in a mishmashed side as well. So loads of different angles on that one, loads of different opinions. I think we've just kind of roll with the punches a little bit at the moment. I was frustrated at the end of the game against Barcelona. Like, realistically, that's a good thing, probably. To lose against Barcelona and feel like we should have done more, or we should have done something differently to try and win the game, I think is, if anything, a positive. It shows how far we've come in the last 5 years. Imagine 5-6 years ago with Steve Bruce and playing Barcelona, you would be hoping we didn't lose by more than 2-1, 4-0, 5-0. So to come out of the game on Thursday night and be disappointed, or not even disappointed, actually, just frustrated that we could have done this or we could have done that. I think part of me hoped that we could go into this game against Bournemouth and try and right a few wrongs. You know, get Voltemada on the ball, get those balls into him. And Eddie Howe had a different approach today. He had a different approach. The approach was, let's go down there and make sure we don't lose. I think it's probably it. I've seen people say that we parked the bus. You know, we went down. I think I was reading someone said we played like a League Two side who would desperately try not to. I can see the comment of that, and if you have those viewpoints, please tell me in the comments. I don't know that we went down necessarily to park the bus. I think slightly ahead of that. I think we went down there to make sure we didn't lose, but then we're still obviously hoping to create more going forward than we did. And had we have been given the penalty, which I think it's a pen. It's a pen. He's pulled his shirt. Voltemada's shirt has been pulled, and for that reason should be given as a pen. VAR said that they believed that the contact was not enough. That was why they didn't give the pen, which I think is crazy. And then also said that went down in a dramatic way. But free kicks can be free kicks, or penalties can be penalties, and then for the player be dramatic. You know, he's got pulled backwards and he's fell forwards. You know, have he been a bit more like that? But that's ridiculous. It shouldn't actually matter how the bloke hits the floor if the shirt is pulled. That's the letter of the law. They're trying to cut down on shirt pulling. They're trying to cut down on all these things, and yet they don't give one. However, as I mentioned earlier on, maybe Bournemouth could say that we should have had 10 men for the last 15, 20 minutes or whatever it was, when Malik Chow could have got a second yellow card, and then Eddie Howe immediately subs him off to make sure he doesn't do that again. So, yes, potato, whatever. We didn't create enough today. So, yeah. I think we just roll with it. Obviously, I think Isak, the man we don't want to talk about, has left the football club. He was a massive goal scorer, really, and the hope was that Visser and Voltemada, Big Nick, Little Wiz, would have come in and quite quickly hit the ground running. Wissa's got injured, and I think you can see now why Eddie Howe was desperate to have two strikers, because I think Voltemada is just working his way in. I think Bournemouth are an extremely quick, well-structured team, and for a striker who at the minute just hasn't got to grips with the way we play football yet. I think it was great to see him come on and score at St. James's Park. He got the goal, he made the difference, but maybe, you know, Eddie Howe showed us today why he wasn't ready for Barcelona. But ultimately, I would still say I was disappointed to see Gordon start up front, because we've done that repeatedly, and he can't do it. And then he goes to the left-hand side and he scores against Barcelona. So what we do against Bradford in the midweek is going to be really interesting. I think we need to put out a team who wins, and maybe Eddie Howe's got it right. He got the point on the road today, and we'll have a team ready to go at the weekend before we play again next weekend against Arsenal. So straight away, it's another very big game, very, very fast, with Champions League games in the middle of it. So he's tried to use a squad. He's tried to do something different. Had we got the penalty and scored with that side today, you could have argued that it was an Eddie Howe masterclass. Defensively, we were very structured, very tough to break down on the road against a team that we have not played well against of late. Was it last season when Trippier had a fight with the fans after we lost against Bournemouth? So, you know, if that was the running we were trying to do better than, I would argue that we did. But yeah, mixed feelings on that one. It's been a tough start to the season. We had first three games we had no striker, and then we come into it with one striker who's injured and one who's still trying to work out, you know, where they are and what they do. So, yes. After 9 minutes, I can tell you, as I did at the start of the video, had you offered me the point, I would have taken it. Is it tough to watch Newcastle not create? And, you know, I think people could argue that we really didn't go for it enough today. I think we set up to make sure we didn't lose. I think that was how it felt. I don't think we parked the bus. I think we'd have 11 players behind the ball at all times. We tried to create. I just don't think we have enough in that department right now, especially when you're removing the likes of a Bruno who does create for us. I think we missed that today. right? There you go. We'll cover the good ones, we'll cover the bad ones, and I think in today's instance, we covered the boring one, really. If you were a neutral fan watching that one, I can imagine you probably didn't get the most enjoyment out of that 90 minutes. I don't think many Newcastle fans or maybe Bournemouth fans did either. All right. Thanks for watching. Thoughts and comments down below. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon. I will be sitting with a cup of tea and watching movies or something, I should imagine. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you later.